the self of everything that exists. This Atma, itself assuming the limitations of the buddhi and wrongly identifying itself with this totally unreal entity, looks upon itself as something different, like earthen jars, from the clay of which they are made. Owing to its connection with the superimpositions, the Supreme Self, even though naturally perfect, transcending nature, and eternally unchanging, assumes the qualities of the superimpositions and appears to act just as they do, like the changeless fire assuming the modifications of the iron which it turns red hot. Disciple questioned, be it through delusion or otherwise, that the Supreme Self has come to consider itself as the Jeev. This superimposition is without beginning, and that which has no beginning cannot be supposed to have an end either. Therefore the Jeevhood of the soul also must have no end, and its transmigration must continue forever. How then can there be liberation for the soul? Kindly enlighten me on this point, O revered Master. The teacher said, Thou hast rightly questioned, O learned man. Listen therefore attentively. The imagination which has been conjured up by delusion can never be accepted as a fact. But for delusion there can be no connection of the self, which is unattached, beyond activity and formless, with the objective world, as in the case of blueness, etc., with reference to the sky. The Jeevhood of the Atma, the witness, which is beyond qualities and beyond activity, and which is realized within as knowledge and bliss absolute, has been superimposed by the delusion of the buddhi and is not real. And because it is by nature an unreality, it ceases to exist when the delusion is gone. It exists only so long as the delusion lasts, being caused by indiscrimination due to an illusion. The rope is supposed to be the snake only so long as the mistake lasts, and there is no more snake when the illusion has vanished. Similar is the case here. Avidya or nescience and its effects are likewise considered as beginningless, but with the rise of vidya or realization, the entire effects of avidya, even though beginningless, are destroyed together with their root, like dreams on waking up from sleep. It is clear that the phenomenal universe, even though without beginning, is not eternal like previous non-existence. Previous non-existence, even though beginningless, is observed to have an end. So the Jeevhood, which is imagined to be in the Atma through its relation with superimposed attributes such as the buddhi, is not real, whereas the other, the Atma, is essentially different from it. The relation between the Atma and the buddhi is due to a false knowledge. The cessation of that superimposition takes place through perfect knowledge and by no other means. Perfect knowledge, according to the Shrutis, consists in the realization of the identity of the individual soul and Brahman. This realization is attained by perfect discrimination between the self and the non-self. Therefore, one must strive for the discrimination between the individual soul and the eternal self. Just as the water, which is very muddy, again appears as transparent water when the mud is removed, so the Atma also manifests its undimmed luster when the taint has been removed. Guru answered, Thou hast rightly said, O learned man, thou art clever indeed in discrimination, that by which all those modifications such as egoism as well as their subsequent absence during deep sleep are perceived, but which itself is not perceived. Know thou that Atma, the knower through the sharpest intellect, that which is perceived by something else has for its witness the latter. When there is no agent to perceive a thing, we cannot speak of it as having been perceived at all. This Atma is a self-cognized entity because it is cognized by itself. Hence the individual soul is itself and directly the Supreme Brahman and nothing else. That which clearly manifests itself in the states of wakefulness, dream and profound sleep, which is inwardly perceived in the mind in various forms as an unbroken series of egoistic impressions, which witnesses the egoism, the buddhi, etc., which are of diverse forms and modifications, and which makes itself felt as the existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Know thou this Atma, thy own self within thy heart. Seeing the reflection of the sun mirrored in the water of a jar, the fool thinks it is the sun itself. Similarly, the stupid man, through delusion, identifies himself with the reflection of the chit caught in the buddhi, which is its superimposition. Just as the wise man leaves aside the jar, the water, and the reflection of the sun in it, and sees the self-luminous sun, which illumines these three and is independent of them. Similarly, discarding the body, the buddhi, and the reflection of the chit in it, and realizing the witness, the self, the knowledge absolute, the cause of the manifestation of everything, which is hidden in the recesses of the buddhi, is distinct from the gross and subtle, eternal, omnipresent, all-pervading and extremely subtle, and which has neither interior nor exterior. Only realizing this true nature of oneself, one becomes free from sin, taint, death and grief, and becomes the embodiment of bliss. Illumined himself, he is afraid of none. For a seeker after liberation, there is no other way to the breaking of the bonds of transmigration than the realization of the truth of one's own self. The realization of one's identity with Brahman is the cause of liberation from the bonds of samsara, by means of which the wise man attains Brahman, the one without a second, the bliss absolute. Once having realized Brahman, one no longer returns to the realm of transmigration. Therefore, one must fully realize one's identity with Brahman. Brahman is existence, knowledge, infinity, pure, supreme, self-existent, eternal, and indivisible bliss, not different in reality from the individual soul, and devoid of interior or exterior. It is ever triumphant. It is this supreme oneness which alone is real, since there is nothing else but the self. Verily, there remains no other independent entity in the state of realization of the highest truth. All this universe, which through ignorance appears as of diverse forms, is nothing else but Brahman, which is absolutely free from all the limitations of human thought. A jar, though a modification of clay, is not different from it. Everywhere the jar is essentially the same as the clay. Why then call it a jar? It is fictitious, a fancied name merely. None can demonstrate that the essence of a jar is something other than the clay of which it is made. Hence the jar is merely imagined as separate through delusion, and the component clay alone is the abiding reality in respect of it. Similarly, the whole universe, being the effect of the real Brahman, is in reality nothing but Brahman. Its essence is that, and it does not exist apart from it. He who says it does is still under delusion. He babbles like one asleep. This universe is verily Brahman. Such is the august pronouncement of the Atharvaved. Therefore, this universe is nothing but Brahman, for that which is superimposed on something has no separate existence from its substratum. The universe as it is be real, there would be no cessation of the dualistic element. The scriptures would be falsified, and the Lord himself would be guilty of an untruth. None of these three is considered either desirable or wholesome by the noble-minded. The Lord, who knows the secret of all things, has supported this view in the words, "But I am not in them, nor are the beings in me." If the universe be true, let it then be perceived in the state of deep sleep also. As it is not at all perceived, it must be unreal and false like dreams. Therefore, the universe does not exist apart from the Supreme Self, and the perception of its separateness is false like the qualities of blueness, etc. in the sky. Has a superimposed attribute any meaning apart from its substratum? It is the substratum which appears like that through delusion. Whatever a deluded man perceives through mistake is Brahman, and Brahman alone. The silver is nothing but the mother of pearl. It is Brahman which is always considered as this universe, whereas that which is superimposed on the Brahman, viz. the universe, is merely a name. Hence, whatever is manifested, viz. this universe, is the supreme Brahman itself, the real, the one without a second, pure, the essence of knowledge, taintless, serene, devoid of beginning and end, beyond activity, the essence of bliss absolute, transcending all the diversities created by Maya or nescience, eternal, ever beyond the reach of pain, indivisible, immeasurable, formless, undifferentiated, nameless, immutable, self-luminous. Sages realize the supreme truth Brahman, in which there is no differentiation of knower, knowledge and known, which is infinite, transcendent, and the essence of knowledge absolute. which can be neither thrown away nor taken up, which is beyond the reach of mind and speech, immeasurable, without beginning and end, the whole, one's very self, and of surpassing glory.